Today in Foxborough, this one really has that inside-the-building feel. We have a rookie minicamp invite that could make the kick return battle a lot more interesting. Outside noise around Mike Vrabel getting louder, a possible veteran answer for the secondary, and the early shape of an offense built to protect Drake Maye in 2026. And I'm telling you, Patriots fans, these little details can turn into real roster battles fast. Drop a like because this one is for the fans who want to spot the move before the headline ever lands. Now, starting with the first roster nugget, this Logan Collier invite is not just some random minicamp favor. This is the type of quiet phone call that usually tells you one thing in Foxborough. Somebody inside that building is searching for an advantage where the rest of the league might only see an off-the-radar profile. And with the Patriots, that kind of edge has always mattered. Survival, details, hidden field position. Collier comes in with a winding path, the kind of journey that does not fit the clean, polished prospect story. Lindsey Wilson, North Alabama. A minicamp chance with the Bills that did not work out. Then football overseas with the Tampere Saints in Finland. And now another AFC East invite. The casual fan sees that and says, fine, just another name. But anybody who follows special teams in New England knows this is exactly the type of player worth tracking in August. Because the problem is real. Antonio Gibson was bringing energy to the kick return game before the ACL injury. Once he went down, that unit lost its spark. Late in the season, you could feel it. The Patriots were not stealing field position the same way anymore. And that changes drives. It changes play calls. It even changes the confidence level of your quarterback. Mike Vrabel keeping Jeremy Springer, and Springer landing a 2-year extension tells you special teams are still being treated like a real competitive edge, not just some roster afterthought. That is where Collier's numbers start to get interesting. As a receiver, he never became a consistent weapon. He had 77 catches, 1,142 yards, and 11 touchdowns in 4 seasons at Lindsey Wilson, then only 2 catches for 39 yards at North Alabama. But in the return game, the conversation gets different. He averaged 35.6 yards on 19 kickoff returns with 4 touchdowns. He also averaged 21.1 yards on punt returns and scored there too during his time in Kentucky. That is not nothing when we are talking about pure burst. Yes, the level of competition matters. But running a 4.36 in the 40 is not just some fun note on a scouting sheet. That is a clue. That is athletic material for Springer to test. And on a roster that already has Brendan Schooler, Marcus Jones, Andy Borregales, and a culture that actually respects specialists, Collier does not have to become a star. He has to win a role. Sometimes in Foxborough, that is exactly how a career slips in through the back door. And by the time everyone notices, that player is already part of the conversation. And now the conversation moves out of the hidden roster lane and into a much louder room. Because this whole Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini drama has turned into the kind of story people outside New England are enjoying way too much. This is where Patriots fans need to breathe a little, but also keep their eyes open. Because when noise hangs around for more than a month, even when some of it comes from gossip, theories, and people who want to see Foxborough burn, it can still create a cloud around the real work. The latest, according to the Daily Mail, is that an NFL source placed Robert Kraft in a pretty delicate behind-the-scenes position. Loyal to Vrabel, with no intention of firing him, but allegedly thinking through an emergency plan if the next few months completely fall apart. And the name connected to that scenario would be Mike Tomlin, who left the Steelers this offseason after a historic run, with a Super Bowl, long-term success, and real weight across the league. Now, I'll say this as a fan and as someone trying to read the building. This feels like a backup plan, not an immediate breakup. Kraft did not build this new phase just to panic before the season even gets started. Vrabel was brought in to bring back identity, toughness, and command to a team that had been through some tough years. Blowing everything up right now would put Drake Maye on another coaching path already. And that is exactly the kind of instability a serious franchise tries to avoid when it believes it has a special quarterback. At the same time, I understand why this rumor gets under people's skin. The Patriots have become an easy target for anyone trying to turn every spark into a full fire. If there is an internal worst-case conversation, that does not mean the owner is hunting for an exit tomorrow. It means the NFL is cold, expensive, and obsessed with planning ahead. Owners think through scenarios. Front offices protect alternatives. That happens in winning buildings too. And with Tomlin, let's be honest, the resume is real. It would be silly to pretend otherwise. But the emotional fit in New England would be explosive, because it would mean another hard turn at a time when the fan base is desperate for continuity. Fans want to see Vrabel get time. They want to see Maye grow without changing the whole playbook and program every single year. So to me, the real inside story here is not Tomlin. The real story is Kraft trying to keep the project together while outside noise tries to pull the Patriots off track before September. And that is exactly why the next move has to be read carefully. Because while the loud headline screams coach, drama, and rumor, the roster is asking for something quieter: safety help. The Patriots went through 7 rounds of the draft and a few days of undrafted free agency without truly addressing the position, outside of the rookie minicamp invite for Hawaii's Peter Manuma. And when you look ahead to 2027, that absence starts sounding louder. Right now, the foundation is Craig Woodson and Kevin Byard. Woodson, a 4th-round pick in 2025, became a starter and flashed in coverage and against the run. Byard arrived on a 1-year deal after Jalen Hawkins left, bringing that center field safety profile, that ball hawk feel, and the resume of leading the league in interceptions the year before. But behind them, the room turns into a special teams traffic jam. Del Pettis, Mike Brown, John Saunders Jr., and Brendan Schooler are useful, competitive, and valuable to the roster. But the real question is different. If a starter goes down or if someone struggles, who steps in and handles real defensive snaps? That is where Taylor Rapp starts to make sense. Former Ram, former Bill, a player who understands the AFC East, a guy with 72 career starts since entering the league in 2019. And before the knee injury last season, he was playing 96% of Buffalo's defensive snaps. That is not some random name being tossed onto the table. That is a veteran who has lived division football, lived heavy games, and been part of a team that won back-to-back AFC East titles. And the behind-the-scenes part that stands out is why Buffalo moved on. The Bills did not part ways with Rapp just because he forgot how to play football. The injury mattered, of course, but the move also opened up around $3 million in cap space. New England, according to SpotTrack, has around $36 million available. So the financial space is there to turn a depth need into a legitimate training camp competition. I know some fans might look at this and say, do we really need another safety? My answer is this. When you are trying to protect a defense built on versatility, yes, you do. Rapp would not need to show up as a savior. He would need to raise the floor of the room, push the backups, give the staff another option against heavier looks, and make the team less exposed if one injury hits. So drop it in the comments. Would you bring Taylor Rapp to Foxborough, or would you rather keep that spot open for a young player to grow? Because in the end, this is the type of decision that shows whether Elliott Wolf is really living by that idea of improving the roster any way possible. Sometimes the offseason is not only about the big swing. Sometimes it is about sliding in a veteran piece before the need shows up on a Sunday and costs you too much. And now we get to the offense, which might be the most important part of all of this, because every inside read in Foxborough comes back to one question. Are the Patriots building the right environment for Drake Maye? The 90-man roster is pretty much taking shape, still open to cuts and market opportunities, but the early vision is already visible. When you combine the draft, free agency, possible moves after June 1st, and Josh McDaniels running the offense, you can see the plan. More protection, more physicality, and more structure around the quarterback. Maye is the fixed point. After taking the Patriots to the Super Bowl in his second year and coming within a hair of the MVP, he enters 2026 as the face of the entire project. And yes, it still hurts to remember that they came up one win short. But that run changed how this franchise is viewed. New England is not searching for a quarterback. It is trying to build the rest of the board so that quarterback does not have to carry everything by himself. That is why Reggie Gilliam's arrival matters. A 6'1", 255-pound fullback coming over from the Bills does not just randomly appear in a McDaniels offense. That smells like heavier packages, a more honest run game, and Ramondre Stevenson getting real lead blocking in front of him. Anyone who lived through the James Devlin era knows how much a functional fullback can change the personality of an offense. It is not glamour. It is angles, contact, short third downs. A defense getting worn down in the fourth quarter. At tight end, Hunter Henry remains the dependable veteran, and Julian Hill can fit into that same power package because of his blocking. The message is clear. New England wants to be harder to push around. They want to give Maye formations that sell the run, protect play action, and create answers before the snap. That is quarterback development too. It just does not always come with a flashy headline. The biggest question is at wide receiver. Stephon Diggs was released, Romeo Doubs comes in as an addition, and A.J. Brown is still floating out there as a possible post-June 1 trade target. If that happens, the ceiling of the offense changes. Brown would be that physical, dominant number one who forces coverage to rotate and opens space for everybody else. Even without treating it like a done deal, the fact that this scenario is even in the conversation shows the Patriots understand the urgency of giving Maye more firepower. On the offensive line, the inside read is strong too. Jared Wilson could move from left guard back to center, the position he played at Georgia, while Elijah Vera Tucker would take over on the left side if he can stay healthy. Mike Onwenu stays on the right. Will Campbell returns at left tackle. Morgan Moses holds down the right side. And Caleb Lomu is the insurance if one of the tackles cannot go. It is not a perfect line, but it is a line with a purpose. And that is the read. The Patriots are not trying to win 2026 on Maye's brilliance alone. They are trying to rebuild the foundation so that brilliance can turn into a title. More muscle in the backfield, more blocking at tight end, a possible jump at wide receiver, and an offensive line reshaped by need and conviction. Talent gets you to December. Structure decides whether you are still alive in February. So when you put it all together, the day in Foxborough sends a pretty clear message. The Patriots are trying to win in layers. There is a hidden special teams bet with Logan Collier. There is outside noise trying to put pressure on Vrabel. There is a possible veteran like Taylor Rapp who could protect the defense. And there is an offense being shaped to give Drake Maye a championship-level structure. Not every move is massive. Sometimes the behind-the-scenes stuff that decides a season starts with a mini-camp invite, a contingency call, a depth spot, or one better block on second down. If you want to follow this Patriots story from the inside, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and stay with me because Foxborough is still going to get a whole lot hotter.